All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you all who are joining live with us. And hello to those of you who are going to catch the recording at a later time. I'm so honored to have our special guest, Marilou, here, who is going to be talking about the art of deep listening, sensing the world differently. My name's Jose Ocaño. I'm the founder and CEO of Hatching, where we help people live better and work better through helping people acquire new skills and mindsets that help us navigate the world in a much more peaceful way. And I'd love Angel to introduce himself as well.
My name is Angel Guzman. I'm the COO and co-founder of Hatching with Jose, and we're so happy to be here. And we're thankful that you are joining us on this beautiful Thursday morning. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, everyone who's joining us from all over the United States, which is really cool. And before I hand it over to Marilou, who's going to do Qigong exercise with us, I wanted to introduce her and let you know how I met Marilou. So one of the first experiences I had with Marilou was at the Humane Society of the United States conference. And what we had there, thanks to Maddie's fund, was a BIPOC room for Black, Indigenous, people of color, like a safe space. And Marilou facilitated what she calls a circle. We all sat in a circle, about 20 or 25 of us, and she set this really beautiful ecosystem of where she's like, everyone's going to have a chance to say what they need to say without interruptions. And the question she asked us was, "What's on your heart?" And it was a really beautiful experience to have people go around and share a lot of different emotions, like big ones, happy ones, hard ones, and the level of connection we built with each other, the ways we were able to see ourselves in each other's joy, in each other's struggle. It was one of the most impactful experiences I had ever been a part of. And that was one of the very first kind of impressions and experiences I had with Marilou. And I remember thinking to myself, this is someone my soul wants to connect with. This is someone who I know through her wisdom and through her example is going to elevate my ability to connect to myself and connect to others. And so, Marilou, I just want to tell you, I think about that all the time. And a lot of times when I'm meeting with people, I always ask folks, tell me what's on your heart. And it really is this beautiful opening question. But thank you for being here today. You know, yesterday you launched your new business, the Ahnung Way, which we're going to hear about, and people can learn how they can work with you. But it is an honor to have you be a guest on Hatching Hour. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Jose. Really appreciate it. So it is, I don't believe in coincidences. You know, I think that my meeting Jose, getting to know him, that connection. There's also some others I know that are on this call, you know, where I've experienced that same thing, where there's just a connection. So let me take a moment just to introduce myself. I'm Marilou Chanrasmi. As Jose mentioned, I just launched, it's been birthing for 9 years, right? So let me just put it that way. Something, you know, a vision came about 9 years ago, but I finally, it broke soil and it emerged and sprouted yesterday, the 55th anniversary of the passing of my father. The Ahnung Way. Won't share more, I'll share more a little bit about it. I have spent my life decades, you know, I did work in corporate America for a while. My last job was in the nonprofit world, but for about 15 years have been focusing a lot of my work with indigenous communities. Very passionate about working with tribal communities. And I'm also a Somatics Coach, mindful Qigong practitioner.
I think that's beautiful. And I think we're going to learn more about you as you tell us your story and what led you to all of the things that you do. Shall we do a Qigong exercise and maybe tell everyone what that is?
All right, so let's begin. I have been practicing Qigong now for probably about 7 years daily. It got added to my daily practice of meditation, which has been absolutely essential to my practices. Just a raise of hands. How many people know what Qigong is? I know some of you will, right? I know that from, okay. Okay, wonderful. So Qi means energy. And, one of my favorite teachers where I've watched a lot of her videos and I finally get to experience a real retreat because she's from the UK in February is Mimi Kuo-Deemer. And how she describes Qigong is it is shaping and creating the life energy that is all around us and transforming that through steady perseverance. So Qi means life energy. So what we're going to do we're just going to get up and practice. So I'm going to invite for those that are able to stand. Qi is an ancient Chinese practice medicine. I'll talk while we're doing it, but I'm going to invite everybody to simply bounce. Mimi calls this activity, we're opening up the channels, and she calls this wild horse shaking. So just a wild horse breathing from your belly, just letting the energy begin to move. And if you feel any tension in your jaws, just soften them, shoulders, relax them. And then pay attention and just notice your feet touching the earth, the ground. And then now just stop. This position with your knees slightly bent, so soft, so never straight knees. Your hands kind of like you're slipping them into gloves. So there's a little space between your arms. This position is called Wu Qi, which is emptiness stance. And for myself, this is a practice I actually add in addition to sitting meditation, and this is a standing meditation. But with Wu Qi, as we go into some of the postures, I want you to imagine yourself as a pine tree. So in terms of energy, like a tree moving down into the earth, deep roots, and then extending your energy up into the skies. And if you notice that when you're stressed, we tend to breathe from our chest. What I'm going to invite you to do is to simply drop into your body, drop your breathing down into your belly. We're just going to do a few Qigong forms, and I'm taking some forms from some different sequences. The first one is called pushing the clouds. Right? So slowly, just bring your hands together, raising up, and then push out like you're pushing the clouds. Never extend too far. In Qigong, you never want to stretch only to what is your comfort level. And then push the clouds apart. What you don't want to do is stretch too far. Just stretch where you can actually move it, where you can actually see out of the side of your eyes. And then turn your palms upward. Bring them back towards the center. And then your fingers are going to, as you bring them close together, pushing out again, breathing from your belly. Soft knees. Relax shoulders. Just notice your breathing. One time. Imagine the clouds. Breathing from your belly. Moving through water. And then turn your palms up. And this time, imagine a mountain, strong, rooted, grounded. And in this posture, with the postures, what you don't want to do is a back bend. Imagine your tailbone going down into the earth and you're reaching up, so extending upward. Then fingers facing each other, coming back down as you turn your palms up. Imagine yourself, you are mountains, tall, sturdy, rounded center. Again, breathing in. Get around to your forehead, interlace your fingers. So I'm going to turn upward again. Not a back bend again. You're reaching up and release. Mimi talks about the fancy word pendiculation, another fancy word for stretching, but with this, what we are doing, instead of just stretching, we are engaging the muscles, arms, shoulders, we're lengthening, and then we're relaxing. What this allows is for the body to alert our nervous system, essentially that we're about to stretch and lengthen the muscles. Versus shocking it. Let's do one last time. I don't have any cats, but for those that have cats, just watch them. It's essentially what cats do, pendiculation as they stretch. Exhale. Relax your shoulders and invite all of that energy into every cell. Just put my hands together, harvest chi, and let's, sorry to say, clearly I can't keep it for 5 minutes, but I try.
No, this is your hour. You know, everything is away. The first time I did Qigong with you, I remember, because I'm someone who's really self-conscious, I struggled with it. And the past several times I've practiced with you, I could just feel my nervous system regulating. And that's the place I want to operate from. I do my best thinking, feeling, and acting from a place of regulation. Something I talked to with mindset coach Ty, who's on this call. She talks about like how our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions, like that, you know, that feedback loop. What she's really talked to me a lot about is like, it's important to get to this place of calm, you know, coherence is what she talks about. And so that's what I feel like. I feel so much more here, you know, so thank you for that, Marilou. I hope everyone, you know, like feels a little more calm. And I think that, I don't know about you, but I feel like I've been going through some kind of emotional vortex the last week. And this is probably the first time all week I feel calm. So thank you. I would love to know, Marilou, like, I want to know about your story and, you know, how you even started to do Qigong. You know, part of what you've cultivated are a series of practices that allow you to connect to yourself and connect to others. So tell us what are the things and the people that have led you here today?
My morning walk, I was reflecting on that. I was trying to reflect on what I would share. So I don't know if I'd really planned on this journey, right? I think that it was a way to survive. I think for some of I wasn't raised in the United States. I was raised in Thailand. Father's family was from mainland China, but they had migrated to Thailand. My mother's from the Philippines. And I lost my father when I was 4. He had liver disease, and my mother flew him to the United States, to St. Louis, Missouri, in hopes that the doctors could save him. And But what I remember, I had just turned 4, ended up in Barnes Hospital in St. Louis, Missouri. And at that time, there was a tower called Queenie Tower that we can actually stay at. I was too young to go to school. So I lived at the hospital at Queenie Tower with my mother for 2 months. We had arrived in September, so that we could always be. So I spent so much time in my father's room. And I remember, as Christmas, I just remember hearing Christmas songs, right? And Little Drummer Boy was constantly playing. It was just something. And I remember, for those of you, I'm going to age myself, Etch-a-Sketch. There was a thing called Etch-a-Sketch, and I was in the corner of the room, I was playing Etch-a-Sketch. Okay? And it's amazing at just turning 4, like I remember all of a sudden screaming blue lights, and December 20th, 5 days before Christmas, my father died. And, my mother describes it as the shortest 7 years of her life. She loved my mother more than life itself. And my father was 39 when he died. I used to think that was really old. It's funny how perspective, right? That's not really old now. It's really young. That was a pivotal time for me because my mother didn't know how to grieve. So we never talked about it. She wore black for 2 years and it was just nothing. And I am, my life in Thailand became such that she threw us into everything. Swimming, everything, like school, like all these things that to keep us distracted, right? It's interesting now, like looking back, that's how we still do it today, like survival strategies, right? In order to survive. And she threw me in my mornings was swimming training. I was in the Thai national swim team, swimming, school, and then back to swimming, and then threw me to piano lessons, studies. So no time for anything, right? No time to feel, right? No time to feel. Right? And then out of that, my mother was a very devout Catholic from the Philippines. We had priests and nuns and everything, so this little girl in me was longing and aching for love. Right? I ended up finding it in a Catholic deacon, right? But that led to 2 years of sexual abuse. Not talking, not sharing anything, right? All of that for me, I share that part because on the surface, I was able to still keep it together. I was this perfect child, straight A student, all these things, but on the inside, my mother, I lost my mother that day as well, emotionally. In many ways, she died. And then got uprooted, left Thailand, spent a year in the Philippines, came to the United States, a totally different culture. And my life just plummeted. Like I didn't know how to survive anymore. I was trying to fit in. So when I was reflecting on how did this even begin, because I kept trying to survive. Then I got here to the United States and I thought I was going to numb. I'm going to find every way to keep on numbing, right? So alcohol, right? I started drinking. I tried to do all these things to just kind of like numb. Because I wasn't really dealing with things at a deep level, I ended up getting in relationships that were unhealthy, all these things, the whole cycle, and then ending up in a relationship that was abusive. Dealing with my sexual identity, all these things. And it was in 1988. I remember that. It's like, because that was the time where I began to listen I tried to kill myself. And I should, by all means, have succeeded, right? But I didn't. Right? To this day, people, how I ended up out of the water, right, onto the bed. I was in a hotel room. My friends say, well, it was your will to survive. I don't believe that. I believe it was my father pulling me out of the water, saying, it's not your time. I ended up at the same hospital my father died. right? Taken there by one of my drinking buddies who should have taken me to a hospital, but by a drinking buddy. Finally, when I said I felt so sick, take me. And she didn't even know that hospital. She took me there. I ended up at the exact same hospital my father died. That then led me to going to my first AA meeting after that, when I was released from the hospital, where they weren't even sure I was going to survive. For me, that was the time where I think I began to hear. I began to hear my father for the first time. Like I couldn't, and there was the other part of me that said, I'm not really being very successful, even when I want to kill myself. Something has to change. So that began my healing. I look at October 1st, 1988 as the time where my healing journey, where I chose life. Maybe I didn't consciously, but it was and then 12-step program was huge for me for the first few years. Meditation, so finding my way. I've been through therapy. I did all different types of practices. And, for me, the deep listening is really about learning to listen to ourselves, to what's emerging. It's not like active listening where we're just listening to somebody else. It's really being listened. And I was afraid of so many things. And it was dreams, it was nightmares that finally began to emerge around the sexual abuse, around all these things, where I believe it's spirit talking to me. And I couldn't stand silence. I always had to have the TV on. Something always had to be on, right? My mother always had something on. And I didn't realize till later that silence terrified me. Terrified me. I was afraid of my thoughts. I was afraid of, and so I began to learn through this journey, and writing was huge for me. I began to learn, and then through my somatics coaching training as well, how do I become friends? And my dog, Ahnung, my red leg dog, was the one who taught me how to become friends with grief. After only having her for 2 years, she got diagnosed with mammary cancer. Okay? And at that point, I also had a bizarre dream, that I had cancer in my left breast. Went to my doctor and then found out, yeah, it was just like, so I've had 7 excisional biopsies, borderline, and that happened along the same time with Ahnung. So it's, how do we learn to listen? And that was my journey, was just, I think life points us in ways and we're just not listening. And so for me, when I think about deep listening and my journey and what resonates for me is going to be unique to me, right? And that's the part that I really want to convey to everyone, that what I find may not be true for you. You know within yourself what it is. I found mindfulness practices, and at some point you will know. It's a sensing. It's kind of like people, and yet the gut, I think there's some science people here. I think I've actually heard that, like, the gut is actually a brain. When there's like, my gut, something inside of you just says it. Trust your gut, right? That's what I always say, trust your gut. When something tells you that something is off, can we silence ourselves? We have stopped listening. We override our body. When you start to feel yourself getting sick, or you feel like yourself getting a cold, what do? You take an anti-something, right? You take something to stop the symptoms, and yet it's your body trying to speak to you. So all of these practices I have done and found it has saved my life emotionally, physically. And, I should be dead, not just because of the suicide attempt, because I got diagnosed with a very rare heart condition, a rare heart condition that back in 2011, I was told I might have a year or 2 years or 10 years. We're beyond 10 years now. My heart doctor now just says, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing what you're doing. I don't want to see you for 2 years. And I actually said, can we make that 3? Right? Been diagnosed with neuropathy, Qigong and all these practices. I don't feel nothing. It feels fine. I've had 7 excisional biopsies, the last MRIs and ultrasounds, and it's all clear. So I truly, truly believe we can heal ourselves. Right? So I'm going to pause there and say.
Wow. Just thank you for sharing that. I think part of when you tell your story, and I think because you spent the time listening to yourself, the way I use language of connecting the dots, I'm always trying to connect the dots of my experiences, of the situations that I find myself in. And I feel like I relate to a lot of your story, not in the specifics of it, but in like, I believe all of the things that I've encountered in my life, from growing up in Barrio Anita, growing up in an ecosystem that was really difficult and challenging, and growing up brown and queer, and working in an animal shelter where you're seeing life and death and human suffering on steroids, to my dad also died when I was 16, and that changed the course of my life. All of these moments, and it's this understanding now that I have that everything I'm experiencing is happening for me. And there's all these opportunities to just connect even more deeper to myself, recommit to myself, my well-being. And I have some of my closest friends are on this call, and I flipped my whole world upside down 3 weeks ago by taking this job here at the Humane Society of Southern Arizona. And Angel can attest, it went from, hey, here's an idea of going there, and now I'm here and I'm finding myself re-triggered, and I'm experiencing these old traumas again. And part of why I think they're happening is because I'm here to heal myself. And I think part of what my soul's journey and purpose is to heal myself and then share and talk about it, because I think the thing that connects all of us is our common humanity. We all feel joy, we all feel sorrow, we all feel excitement, we all feel self-doubt and self-criticism. But I think it's when we feel alone, and it's when we're not connecting to ourselves, that it feels unmanageable, And I so appreciate you sharing what you did, because I think it's a reminder for me as I was listening to, of like, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and I'm going to be okay. And if I sit in silence and I connect to myself, I will get the clarity. And if I hone in my practices of meditation, journaling, all the different things that help me get centered and clear and grounded, I'll be able to take the next step forward, one foot in front of the other. Angel always tells me, Jose, just one foot in front of the other, one day at a time, and be present. Don't let your anxiety rob you of the future, and your resentment keep you in the past. Be here now. So Marilou, one of the things that I would love for us to do, and I know it's something you do with some of the folks you work with, is a deep listening activity. Can you walk us through what that is?
Yes. I'm going to ask for three volunteers. 2 volunteers are going to be taking more of a peripheral. 1 will be taking more of an act. Jamie and Johanna, you're going to be listeners. You're going to be listeners in this, along with Jose and myself. And then Cynthia, I'm going to invite you. I'm going to ask you a question. And I want to share something that was shared with me by someone on social media, a friend of mine. As I ask you the question, what I want you to do is, as I read the short poem, drop into your body, right? Like really just, if you feel the energy up here, move the energy from your head and into your body, right? So this is a poem, Blessing for the Longest Night on Winter. All throughout these months, as the shadows have lengthened, this blessing has been gathering itself, making ready, preparing for this night. It has practiced walking in the dark, traveling with its eyes closed, feeling its way by memory, by touched by the light of the moon, even as it wanes. So believe me when I tell you this blessing will reach you, even if you have not light enough to read it. It will find you even though you cannot see it coming. You will know the moment of its arriving by your release of the breath you have held so long, the loosening of the clenching in your hands, of the clutch around your heart, a thinning of the darkness that has drawn itself around you. This blessing does not mean to take the night away, but it knows its hidden roads, knowing the resting spots along the path, know what it means to travel in the company of a friend. So when this blessing comes, take its hand, get up, set out on the road you cannot see. This is the night when you can trust that any direction you go, you will be walking toward the dawn. So my invitation, I'm going to ask you a question, and then Jamie and Johanna. And then Cynthia will give it maybe around 3 minutes to answer the question. Jamie and Johanna, what I'm going to ask you to do is after Cynthia is done, is to share in one sentence the essence of what Cynthia has shared. So not a summary. All right, Cynthia. What inside of you is asking to come alive?
It's a really good question. You know, when you were reading it, it just, like, I closed, I looked down and it just, everything just was dark, but in a peaceful way. Kind of like when you were reading, it just felt like opportunity. It felt, I'd even want to cry. So don't laugh. Maybe I should go off camera. It was very emotional for me. It kind of like message of it's okay. And it's so interesting that you asked me the question, or that you chose me to actually explain it, because I've been, like, when you started your presentation, you said, oh, this has been 9 years in the working. And I always feel like there's so much that I need to do, I want to do, and it's just like, feels like stuck. And listening to that, it's just like, it's okay. It's in due time. It just felt hopeful. It felt like possible in that darkness, but yet there was so much light, if that makes sense. So that's my answer.
Cynthia, can you share what that darkness and that light, what does that feel like for you?
It feels like the darkness just feels like stuck. It feels overwhelming. And sometimes that I laugh because I'm saying, like, oh my gosh, I read so much, I do all these things, and I think sometimes I go back to that ignorance is bliss, because when you have opened your mind to so many things, to so many the changes that you want to see, you're so aware, I'm able to just, I'm more sensitive. I could just feel things in a different way. And I think I'm just patience. The light would be, understanding that the timing of things, and trusting that timing. Just trusting that timing. That would be the light.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Jamie and Johanna, if you'd be willing to share in one sentence, what would you say is the essence of the issue?
I think it sounds to me like the essence is that Cynthia feels a dark cloud, but wants to trust herself and the universe to move forward. And that this touched her deeply, which is beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that Cynthia feels heaviness and the weight of life on her, and that she feels like there is a light that can be tapped into to help.
I think the essence of what Cynthia is saying is that she wants to be patient with herself, and that she has a lot of untapped potential that she wants to liberate.
If I may offer what I heard. Cynthia experienced both the darkness and the light, and has a longing for that light to emerge. I just want to say, Cynthia, I see like what you described. It's exactly what I felt on my morning walk this morning when it was dark. That there is darkness. It's so much there's darkness, but in the darkness there is a light, and you being able to feel both, right? That moment. So whatever emotions, the strong, the tears, all of that, that's aliveness inside of you. That's aliveness in you saying it's just like wanting to come out. You know, like the hatching, right? Just like there's a part of you that's just wanting to come out. So my invitation to you is to listen to her. Listen to her. And you know, she'll speak to you in so many different ways. And I can feel it and sense it. And I appreciate you sharing and your vulnerability. Thank you.
Yeah, Cynthia, thank you so much for sharing. I see you, my friend. Marilou, this is some of the work that you actually do with like tech companies. You do this kind of exercise in workplaces that you would never think. You know, when I first met you, a lot of your work was really, I think a lot of your passion was working with indigenous communities, and it is. And when I learned that you were teaching mindfulness at tech startup companies, like, and doing this exact kind of exercise in a way of helping people connect to themselves and to each other, and that actually is what creates thriving teams that, you know, achieve incredible things. I'd love to hear a little bit about the work you do and how you facilitate this, and how people can actually work with you and do some deep listening in the new year.
Yeah, so I was actually, interestingly, a few years back, you know, was working full-time, but then now I do it in a consulting capacity with an organization called PH Data, small tech company, and was originally asked to come in and work with the engineers and solution architects to build their quote, communication skills. And the executive leadership was very open to the way that I brought things. And so I started to essentially, I called them COPs. It was a more gentle introduction to the corporate world, but they're essentially circles, you know, that we hold. And, you know, we have regular sessions around communication about how much space we take up. We have mindfulness circles. They are learning and loving, surprisingly. There's that part of me that voices, oh, is this too woo to bring into the corporate world? Bringing in Qigong. And just last week, one of the engineers just shared when we did the pushing the clouds, he just said, I felt my hands tingling. Right? He said, my whole body just started tingling. Introducing to employees, like, why is this important? Why is mindfulness important? Why is being present important in your work, even when you're connecting with clients, when you're connecting with others? If you have a team and you're a leader, your employees will know whether you're present or you're not present, right? Your well-being. The fact that there are organizations out there that are saying, you know what, this will help my employees and my teams. It's not just talk. There's so many people in organizations where it is performative. They just say they do all these things, you know, and to actually be able to, wow, you're actually creating space for this. So now I actually use with this company, this tech company, I use energy. You know, we talk about all the, what they, you know, they joke with me about the woo-woo stuff that I do, but it's just like they love it, you know, and I love it. And to witness their transformation is just huge. Yeah. So, you know, and then as Jose said, you know, officially launch at the nudging of, just like the science kept coming. And I smile now because I think Ahnung, my soul dog, is probably like, well, it took you long enough, 9 years. It's like, finally, you need to push you off the plane to kind of like start this. And, so I do individual coaching. I'm a certified somatics coach. We're on the third cohort. And there's actually, there's some people who participate in it, but Leo, who had to drop off, is participating for the third time. It's called Deep Listening. And then Jose is a part of it. Now, Deep Listening, Cultivating Your Inner Compass. So that will be, I'm launching a new offering, and that's a 5-session because we want to go deeper, and it really practices our core. We're rewiring the neural pathway. So practices our core. If you go to my website, I'm doing a 1-session just intro, to deep listening, the art and practice of deep listening, an hour and a half, which if you just want to have a little bit more, because there's never enough time. So it's just an opportunity to kind of like to continue this as well, if you'd like to join.
I'm just so grateful for our friendship, and I'm really grateful for the work you're doing and how you're bringing this into workplaces. I was talking to Angel last night. I'm like, when I was working from home and I had a lot more control of my ecosystem, it was a lot easier for me to be well and prioritize my well-being. And now coming into an office, having multiple people that I'm supervising and programs, I'm having to refine my footing in all of this. Everything you're talking about, it's a reminder to me that, like, in order for me to be the highest level of service, whether that's in my marriage, being a good husband with my friends, or being a good, leader at work, it really starts with ourselves. And that's why, like, at Hatching, we say, live better, work better. Live better is the foundation of everything. Cynthia, I'm still reflecting a little bit about what you were saying. And when you started to describe the light and the darkness, it's interesting, Marilou, because I read your Facebook post right before we got on where you were talking about this. I just relate to that so much. I feel like I'm in the coming out of, like, kind of a really dark place. And this conversation reminds me that everything we're doing is a practice. That's something you introduced to me in our deep listening first session. And we're always practicing. If you're practicing working 40, 50 hours a week and not taking breaks and not taking lunches and not working out or doing the things, which guilty for the past few weeks, then that's what you're going to get good at. You're going to get good at those things. And so, to quote a really good friend of mine, Ivy Ruiz, who works for UC Davis, she talks about positively disrupting ourselves, positively and gently disrupting the stories we're telling ourselves, the beliefs that are keeping us perhaps in the patterns that we're not able to do and live our best lives. And so if you're all on here today, I hope today is just a reminder that you're worthy and you are deserving to take a pause and invest in yourself. And think about, what are the things that you're doing right now that are reinforcing exactly what you're getting out of life. And you said this, Marilou, and like, if you're happy and everything's going great, keep doing it. Good job. But if you're feeling maybe like me right now, and you're just like, there's some like dissatisfaction, and that's the word I've been using, where there's just an unsettling that I feel inside, that's my body's telling me, Jose, we got to do something a little different, buddy. All right. And so that's the invitation for everybody. And I'm saying that out loud just as much for myself. And I told Angel last night before bed, I was like, I'm taking my power back. I'm taking my power back. And this today was step one in that. So Marilou, thank you so much for being here. I highly encourage everybody, if it feels like the time, spend some time with our friend Marilou. It will, I have no doubt, enhance your life the way it has enhanced mine. But my friend, I cherish you. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for those who joined today.
All right. Happy hatching, everybody, and happy holidays. Be well.